Hi everyone, welcome to the Coding Zoo. If this is your first time joining, my name is Shane and this is the JavaScript building blocks playlist. In this playlist we cover JavaScript features, one or two features at a time. In today's lesson we plan to cover JavaScript arrays. What is an array and how do we use it? If this is something that interests you, stick around. We're going to jump right into it. We hope you enjoy the lesson. If you do, click subscribe for more. Our goal at the Coding Zoo is to help other people to learn how to program, to become programmers. If you haven't checked out the codingzoo.com website, go ahead and check it out. We have study notes and quizzes to go along with the videos. Feel free to leave us any messages. We would love to help you learn how to program. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So on my desktop, I have Notepad++ open. You can use any editor you'd like. I have created a folder called CZ-JS11 from my template folder. You can see that in our beginning video for this playlist, how to create that template folder. In that template folder, I have an index.html, just a standard index file, and then I have a main.js. And my index file is, of course, missing my doc type. Let me edit real quick. This is my main.js file. It's linked to the index.html file. Let's go ahead and create an array. I just created a variable called students, and it is basically an array. So an array is a basic data structure. It is a way of creating a variable where you can keep multiple values, kind of like a list of values. So you create an array by declaring a variable, and then you do equals, bracket, and then you put your first entry in the list in the array, comma, and then your second entry, so forth, so forth. And then you end with a bracket and semicolon. This is our first array. I'm going to go ahead and write it out. I'm going to use the built-in document object to write to the HTML document. Click save, refresh, and there's my array. So I have an array stored in memory. It contains 4 values, 4 different names. Okay, so you might wonder, well, what if I don't want all the values? What if I just want to access one value what if I just want to access one value in the array? So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, let me add a new line to my document. So I'm going to use the built-in document object of my document and write a line and a line break. Next, I'm going to write out one entry from the array. Here's how you would do it. So you type in the variable name, bracket, and then the index. An index is, for example, the first entry is 0. It's a 0-based index. So first entry is 0, second entry is 1, third entry is 2, fourth entry is 3, so forth. So I'm going to access the first value, or rather, let's do the second. Click save, click refresh, and there you go. So here's my array printed out. Here is my students with the index of 1 printed out, which is the second value. It's 0-based, so 0 would be the first value. Now, what if you create an array and would like to add more values into your array later on in your program? Let's show you how that's done. So I'm going to cut and paste this line here, and let's add a value to the array. students. I'm going to use, so the array has built-in functions. One such function is push. So I'm going to push something to the array. And just to make sure that it got added, let's print it out. Save, refresh, and there we go. We have Shane, Nicholas, Faith, Christina, and Atul. So now we have another entry in the array. So what if I wanted to take the last entry added off of the array? Now keep in mind, push, the keyword push comes from a data structure called a stack. So this array is pretty much acting like a stack. And we'll get more in depth into those data structures later on. So I want to pull, or I want to pop something, the last entry added. I want to pop the last entry added to the array. Let's try that out. All right, so I've created a variable called last student added, and I popped the last student from the array. And now I'm going to write out that variable. There we go. It popped off the last entry added, which was Atul. Now let's see, did it really remove it, or did it just copy it? Let's try that out real quick. All right, so we're going to print out the array and look at it. There we go. So you can see that it actually took the last value off the array. So this is one way to add and remove items from the array. This is very much using the syntax that the data structure stack would use. Basically, this array is a stack. It's emulating a stack using push and pop with these keywords. There are other ways to get data from the array. Let's say, what if I wanted to update one of the values in the array? Maybe one in the middle. How would I do that? Let's try that out. So, students, and I want to update the first entry in the array. So that's an index of 0. All right, so I typed in students, the index, the one I wanted to update, and the updated name. There we go. Click refresh. You'll see the first one is no longer Shane. It's actually Jai, my daughter's name. So it updated that first index. And you can do that with any index in the array. Now, what if you have an array of data? Say I've got a list of students, and I want to search that list to see if a particular student is in the list. Maybe it's a sign-up list for something, for an activity, sports, or maybe it's a sign-up sheet for after-school programming classes. So let's see if we can write a routine to search for a particular student. So one way to do this is to actually loop through the array and look at each value compared to the name you're searching for. In previous lessons, we learned how to do comparisons with if statements. We're going to use the if statement now. I'm going to show you also a basic loop. It's one of the older ones that was created when JavaScript was first created. In future lessons, I'll go over better ways of looping through arrays. I wanted to just start out with basically the original. So let's try that out. So for parentheses, instead of var, I'm going to use the new keyword let index equals 0. Index is less than. Here's another built-in property of the array. It's called length. So tell me the length of the array. So in previous lessons, we learned how to add one to a variable doing variable plus plus in parentheses, and I'm going to put a squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket. So now I have a for loop. So I have a for loop where the index starts at 0, and I want to loop the amount of times it takes to traverse the entire length of the students. And each time it loops, it's going to add a number to index, so I get the next item in the array. Now I'm going to add my if clause. This is my search part of the algorithm. So if students index, so index is my array that's changing each time we iterate, is equal to Faith, then I want to say, hey, I found it. The name exists in the array. And I cannot type this morning. So tack on the variable to show that I found it. I can actually access it and write it out also. And then I'm going to type, and then I'm going to write the index that it was found at. Notice how I'm using plus to grab these variables and add it onto a string. Okay, and I'm going to add the keyword break. So the keyword, we'll go over this in future lessons. The keyword break is used to say, hey, quit looping. So if I find the student I'm looking for, there's no need to keep looping. I already found that particular one. So in this case, I'm going to break out of the loop and quit processing. That way I don't waste resources. Now, if I wanted to see, now if a student's name could be in the list more than once, I'd probably keep looping through to find all indexes of the student's name. But in this case, we know there's only going to be one, and we're searching for that one. Okay, I'm going to add one more line. All right, so I have a for loop. It's going to loop through the array. I'm going to check each entry and see if it matches the item I'm searching for, Faith. And if it does match, I'm going to write out the value Faith from the found entry, and then I'm going to write the index that it was present at. If it doesn't find it, then each time it doesn't find it, I'm going to write out a line that says, hey, I couldn't find it at index in. It says I couldn't find it at index in. Click save, click refresh, and there we go. So I did not find Faith in the list of students at index 0, 1, and it found it at index 2, which should have been a third entry. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's correct. And I'm going to add a little space there just to make it look a little bit better. All right, save, refresh. There we go. Looks a little better. So that's pretty much it. It's very easy to create an array. It's very easy to add items to the array. It's very easy to update the entry in an array if you know what that entry's index is. If you don't know what that index is, you can always search the array like we just did and then update the value. Or if you just want to find something in an array, you can search it just like we did with a loop. So there are more advanced ways to deal with arrays. We're going to cover that in upcoming lessons. We are going to look at the different types of loops. We're going to cover ES6 typed arrays. And I like the type stuff. I'm a Java developer originally, so I like typed languages. The pure JavaScript engineers out there are probably going to say, no, I don't like that, but I love it. So we're going to have typed arrays in the future, and we'll take a look at the built-in array functions. So if that interests you, go ahead and subscribe below. It's a button right below. Click on that. Click that bell icon, and that will let you know when the next video comes out. We have a lot more videos to come. We're putting out like 2 or 3 a week. So definitely check it out. Learn with us. Hey, leave a comment below if you have a question. We'll get back to you. If you have a recommendation or a critique of the lessons, hey, we'd love to hear from you. We want to make these lessons for you so you can learn how to program, become an engineer. So thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.